Thank you, Speaker. My adjournment matter is for the Minister for Housing, and I asked the Minister to provide an update on the initiatives they are taking to tackle the housing crisis, including homelessness in Victoria and the Mornington Peninsula. I was honoured recently to be given the opportunity to serve as the Shadow Assistant Minister for Housing and Rental Affordability, and I look forward to sinking my teeth into this role, particularly because I have been very concerned about the homelessness crisis, as well as the housing crisis more generally for so many years, both when I was a federal Member of Parliament and now as a state Member of Parliament. And I know the member for Nepean can attest to the grave need we have, not just on the peninsula, but across Victoria in this regard. I want to go into some of the issues with respect to housing. Social housing accounts for only 3% of households in the state, well below the national average of 4%. Victoria has the smallest proportion of social housing in the nation, and indeed there are over 63,000 people on the waiting list, many on the priority waiting list as well, up from around 9,000 when we left government in 2014. 1/3 of Australians seeking homelessness support live in Victoria, and the Council for Homeless Persons highlights that it has 30% more people experiencing housing stress in Victoria compared to New South Wales and Queensland. Per 10,000 people, Victoria currently has the most people experiencing homelessness in the country. And I can attest to this when I had a former colleague from Kosovo who came from Nigeria. He visited Australia for the first time back in late 2018. And I took him to the city on a Sunday. It was his first chance to see the city, and the level of homelessness even back then was significant. And he was actually quite shocked because he didn't see the same thing in Nigeria, and nor did he see this in Kosovo. In Kosovo, there were over 40% unemployment rate at the time, and there was no safety net, but you hardly ever saw a homeless person on the streets. So it does send shockwaves that we have this situation in Victoria, in Australia, particularly when we are a wealthy nation. So it does reflect on our government and our society when we have these issues that are not being resolved. I note that in 2023, the then Premier announced the $6 billion big housing bill, which would boost supply by 10%. But yet today, there are barely 1,600 more social housing dwellings than there were in 2017. So we have a lot more to do in this regard. And on the Mornington Peninsula, net public housing, in particular if you count the amount of properties that are vacant or in disrepair, has actually gone backwards since 2014. I note as well that crisis accommodation across Victoria and my electorate is also almost non-existent, and this